In this video, we're going to talk about strategies for getting great returns in a market like this, particularly leveraging your retirement funds. G'day, Brian. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Tim?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited to talk to you about this because I've got to say at the moment the market, particularly here in the US, it's a little bit flat. It's a little bit tricky. Can you describe the market to me? And can we talk about some ideas, some tactics for getting, a great return, possibly even leveraging retirement funds?
Gladly. I think the most important part of the market to focus on for this discussion is really the fixed income market, the bond market. The stock market, no one really knows whether it's going to go up or down, and over time, certainly, if a person leaves their money in long enough, over time it's done well. The big challenge for investors today is the fixed income market, where there are basically no returns. And in fact, I feel that that's actually pushing a lot of people to possibly overinvest in the stock market because they just can't tolerate earning virtually nothing in the fixed income portion of their portfolio. And I think that's where a self-directed IRA or self-directed solo 401k can enter the picture, because it can enable you to diversify beyond just your traditional stocks and bonds and mutual funds. So for example, there could be, whether it's various private placements, which may make sense to fully to diversify more, buying rental properties, investment real estate, that could certainly help at times, or even personal loans or second mortgage lending. So there are other possible things that a person could do that by having a self-directed IRA, you'd be enabled to be able to, again, get a higher level of diversification and possibly being able to make up for the slack, at least to a certain extent, of what you're really not receiving in the traditional fixed income markets.
I've got to say, although there was a lot of technical phrasing in there, it's actually a really exciting idea. And if I can, I'm going to see if I can boil this down to layman's terms right over here. So what I'm hearing is right now in the fixed market, which is to say bonds, things that give a fixed return, the returns are really small. I know that my bank right now, I don't know if they're paying me a single cent of return. If so, it's cents return. It's very, very low. So, and I think of my IRA as kind of locked down. Which is to say, it's with a bank and it's doing bonds and things like that. So if I want to come out of that and get a little bit more in control of what's going on and go into some things that are maybe a little bit have some potential higher returns, I can get this self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k, which you mentioned, and suddenly now controls back in my own hands to some broad extent. Appreciate there are rules and regulations. And my understanding is that you guys, Broad Financial, have the mechanism to make that kind of happen. Can you just describe that mechanism a little bit, and then what could I expect to happen at that point?
Sure. Basically, we provide you with a plan, and within the plan there is an LLC, which is the investment arm of that plan. And the key feature of that LLC is that it has an operating agreement which basically limits you to only invest in those assets that the IRS permits you to invest in. And you'll then open up a checking account for that LLC at the bank of your choice. And then you're basically free to go and invest in those various asset classes. So it really is quite simple and straightforward.
And that's so that makes sense to me. You start up a business and you would help me do that. When you say IRS limited, I start thinking, what are the limits here? So what are some of the things that you can invest in?
Well, most investment real estate would be permitted. Again, there are certain restrictions. I mean, you obviously can't invest in a property that you're living in or that you have a child or a parent living in. Precious metals, the full array of private placements, tax liens, second mortgages. I mean, the list is really quite...
So there's a lot of freedom there, really.
Yes, there's a tremendous amount of freedom.
It's fascinating to me. So kind of the moral of the story or the conclusion here is, if you're looking for returns in a slower, quieter market like it is right now, particularly fixed returns, that if you get into something like a self-directed 401k or a self-directed IRA, you really get to take that control back and have the potential returns out of real estate, precious metals, etc., through the mechanism that you guys can set up for us, which is to say an investment company and an attached checkbook account.
That's correct.
It does sound too good to be true. Thanks for sharing that, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
For people who'd like to find out more or potentially set up their own checkbook, self-directed IRA or 401k, please connect with Brian and his team through broadfinancial.com or reach out, give them a call. They're more than happy to answer all your questions and set you up.